Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the March meeting of the Portsmouth Police Commission. We have lots of exciting things to celebrate and acknowledge today, and we'll get right into it. First, I would love to ask Deputy Chief to lead us in a Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And before we move on to the agenda for the meeting, I would first like to begin by asking that we pause for a moment of silence in recognition of former Police Commissioner Jerry Howe, who passed away recently, and extend our condolences to his family and friends. Jerry was a longstanding member of the Portsmouth Police Commission, a steward in this community, and he will be greatly missed. So if we can join us in a moment of silence. Thank you. Now, if I can get a motion to suspend the agenda and move up items 1 under swearing in and award ceremony.
I move to suspend the agenda and move up the swearing-in ceremonies.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I guess, Chief, before we do that, should we start by introducing our number 1 star of the show today?
Sure.
All right, you want to do that? Do the honors?
So, Mike, you want to come up with Mason?
Oh my gosh, she's so cute. The runway.
This is just an introduction to our newest member of the police department, Mason, who will be our comfort dog, and Officer Mike Nicoli. He's still in training and won't be available to be in full service probably towards the end of the year, but he's here and already being effective.
I already feel comforted.
He's the comfort dog for the commission, right?
Yeah.
Just give it to him as soon as he comes up. Say hello. Yes.
It's so cute.
Come on, say hello. Say hello.
Hey, big guy. You met before. Yeah. This is right.
Say hello. Come on, buddy.
We need to take a selfie with Mason.
Hey, say hello. Say, oh, what's this? Can I have that? So cute. Oh, careful.
So for those watching at home, you don't have the benefit of actually getting to pat him, but it really is a tremendous asset to now have Mason in our community, and I'm certain he is going to be stealing hearts and winning smiles from here on out. So thank you, Officer Nicoli, for your leadership in making him available to our community. All right, Chief, with that, on to the swearing in.
And Nick, you want to come up here? Just stand right here. I'd like to introduce Portsmouth's newest police officer. This is Officer Nicholas Young. He's coming to us from Epping Police Department, where he's previously been a police officer for nearly 4 years. He started his career here on March 6th. He's a Great Bay Community College graduate with an associate's degree in criminal justice. He attended the 179th New Hampshire Police Academy and has 4 years of police experience. As I stated, he's come from us from Epping Police Department, where he had previously worked at the Milton Police Department, and we're thankful to have Nick join our Portsmouth Police Department family here. And Nick, if you put your right hand up, and I'll read the oath to you, and just repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Nicholas Young,
The above named appointee
the above appointee,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully
that I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
all duties incumbent on me
all duties incumbent on me
as a police officer, constable, and night watchman
as a police officer, constable, and night watchman
of said city of Portsmouth,
of the city of Portsmouth,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
agreeable to the rules and regulations of the Constitution
agreeable to the rules and regulations of the Constitution
and laws of the state of New Hampshire,
and laws of the state of New Hampshire.
so help me God.
So help me God.
You can read. You can put your hand down. By virtue of the authority vested in me through the Police Commission and RSA 105-C, trusting in your integrity and fidelity, do hereby constitute and appoint you a police officer, constable, and night watchman of said city of Portsmouth, with all the power and authority and subject to all the duties and liabilities provided by law. Congratulations. Your father's going to come up and pin you. Thank you. Are you our photographer, Cassidy? Come on up, come on up. Get a picture of them and then. Then we'll take a picture of it. Congratulations. Good?
Good evening. First and foremost, thank you, Chief, Deputy, Police Commissioner, for the opportunity to present these awards tonight. I'm often asked, what about my job I appreciate the most? And the answer is always the same. It's the people. I take tremendous pride in serving the people in our community, and I'm certainly truly grateful to be entrusted with the protection and safety of our citizens. You know, and next, I'm honored to work alongside the people, the men and women of our Portsmouth Police Department. On top of being, professional and proficient, they're most importantly great people. I commented to my wife actually the other day that my children are fortunate to grow up with such great examples in their lives. Right? They couldn't have better aunts and uncles, kind of as representatives, and certainly easily one of my most enjoyable aspects of being a supervisor is getting the opportunity to tell people how amazing our folks are here in Portsmouth. So at the heart of the event I'm going to tell you about here in a minute are six examples of what truly makes our men and women the finest. 6 examples of our guys putting others before themselves. I will start by saying this, that the story does not have an entirely happy ending. The event I'll touch upon was tragic, immensely impactful, and obviously forever changed those involved. To Drew Sabatelli, who lost their life in the event that I will describe, may you rest in peace. And to our family, we offer our deepest condolences, both as a department and as a community. May you find the strength and love as you navigate these difficult times moving forward. In the early morning hours of Thanksgiving, Thursday, 2022, Officer Jeff Rohde was on directed patrol in the Portsmouth traffic circle. Officer Rohde kind of reports that he's focused on the circle. He turns his head away, looks back, and there's a car on its roof in the grassy portion of the traffic circle. He calmly radios dispatch with his observations and was on scene within literal seconds, singular seconds. What Officer Rohde encountered is certainly beyond my capacity to capture with words. The single vehicle had 6 passengers. All 6 were injured, some minor, some critical. Officer Rohde, he's a Marine Corps veteran. He's a veteran officer with experience, began an immediate critical triage assessment of the people involved as other units started to arrive. Those assets were Sergeants Eric Kranz, Max Weber, Officers Zach Brandt, Mike Nicoli, and Mark Dente. This accident does still remain under investigation by the New Hampshire State Police, and for that reason I can't release specific details, but I am fortunate enough to be able to speak briefly about some of the heroic actions of our officers. First, Officer Jeff Rohde, as mentioned, was that first officer on scene. He began that initial scene size up, completing that rapid triage medical assessment to see who needed what, and then he began to render life-saving aid to a subject with critical injuries. He, along with Sergeant Eric Kranz, did provide critical spinal stabilization and hemorrhage control for one individual on scene. Next to arrive was Officer Zach Brandt. Officer Brandt encountered a severely injured subject who was unresponsive and unconscious, and immediately, without thinking, began CPR on the subject until being relieved by fire personnel. So the two individuals treated by Sergeant Kranz, Officer Rohde, and Officer Brandt are alive today, undoubtedly because of the sum of their collective actions. And it's for these actions that they will be honored tonight with our department's life-saving medal. Sergeant Max Weber, Officer Mark Dente, and Officer Mike Nicoli also acted courageously on this night. Sergeant Weber and Officer Dente helped attend to injured parties, and they assisted with coordinating at-scene efforts. Officer Mike Nicoli, who does have prior experience as a medic, helped provide direction using that experience to officers performing critical casualty care. All three of these officers acted swiftly, bravely, and gave everything they had. And I think it's important to recognize that. And for their efforts tonight, they will be receiving a letter of commendation. I was the shift commander that night, and when I arrived on scene, I could tell you that it was chaos. I've been doing this job long enough. It was truly chaos. Our officers' expeditious response, the immediate efforts to render medical aid, and overall, their proficiency under stress is a testament to the quality of these men, and I'm truly proud of all of them. You know, you always say when bad things happen, there's no such thing as really rising to the level of the occasion. You fall back on your training experience. You do what you've trained to do. You do what you've encountered in your career, and this is certainly an example of that. Let me remind you too, this is the early morning hours of Thanksgiving, right? A few short hours after dynamic involvement in a critical incident, they're breaking bread with their family. While other families are struggling with loss and tragedy. So this is certainly, it's not an easy job, folks. And, I make it a point to tell you how proud I am of what they did that night. And I'm grateful for their commitment. I'm grateful for what they bring to the table for our community every day. I personally received some professional feedback from New Hampshire State Police Captain Chris Vetter. He said that our PPD officers, without question, acted heroically, and even commented that his troopers made it a point to inform him of what we did on scene. In short, said there were Portsmouth police officers everywhere, and they were all working. So that's again a testament to the people involved. So in addition to our officers here tonight, I just wanted to take a quick moment to make a few other acknowledgments. First and foremost, our dispatchers that night. I had a daunting task of managing all that radio communication, personnel assignments, apparatus management, bringing in mutual aid units. They performed amazingly. The brave men and women of our fire department, they too responded to chaos. They too worked tirelessly, and they are an equally immense, important factor to any life-saving efforts in this city. The men and women of New Hampshire State Police, we have a tremendous working relationship with them, and I wanted to make sure we acknowledged their tremendous work at this event that night and continuing on. I always say teamwork makes the dream work, and we're certainly thankful for all they do to help us here in the city. And then the emergency medical staff at Portsmouth Regional. I followed up at the hospital later in the night, and I saw the ED like I've never seen it before. It was literally standing room only, as these skilled men and women were just working tirelessly, diligently to provide the best medical care possible. So again, thank you to PRH. And finally, thankful to mutual aid units that responded. All right, we called everyone we could to come help us, and everyone got there quickly and did the best that they could. And to include as Good Samaritans who saw that something was wrong, and they made that decision to stop and render care. So those are some acknowledgments that I wanted to make publicly. So without further ado, if I could have Sergeant Kranz, Officer Brandt, Officer Rohde, and Officer Nicoli up here, please. Who might get first? You guys want to line up real quick? All right, so first I'm going to give it to Sergeant. Just a quick observation here. You'll notice the 2 supervisors are bald. No big deal. No reason for that. Yep, Sergeant. And this gentleman, Officer Rohde, we call him Big Country. You can obviously tell why. I just wanted to say something real quick, if I may. I talked earlier about how impressed I am with the people that I work with and how fortunate we are to have people like these guys around us. Something that I found out outside of our walls was that after this accident, Officer Rohde on his own had gone to the ICU to check on people involved in the accident. That kind of speaks to the kind of human being he is and how much he cared about what went on there. So you can't teach that. You know, he's a big dude. He's also got a big heart. So I wanted to make sure he got recognized for that. So, Officer Rohde. And last but not least, it was Mike Nicoli. I didn't have anything ready for Mason, but I got a letter of commendation for you as well. So that's all I have. So round of applause for all these guys. And real quick, Sergeant Weber is on annual leave, wasn't able to make it tonight. He was obviously going to receive a letter of commendation, and also Mark Dente, who's on military deployment right now, serving our country. So again, round of applause for those guys, and thank you for what you did. Want to get in this, Chief? You want me in there? Go hands in front. Put me next to you, bro.
Oh, Mason, you're so cute. Sorry, guys, for being upstage.
Thanks, bro. Great job.
Thank you, Lieutenant, for leading the awards presentation, and thank you all for joining. We will now get back to our agenda, a regular scheduled agenda. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes of the 2023 meeting held on February 27th?
I move to accept the minutes of the February 27th, 2023 meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And now we'll open it up to public comment. Anyone wanting to make public comment? No? Okay. With that, I'll close public comment. And now we'll move right on into the Police Commission agenda items and ask first for a facilities update focused on the restoration efforts here in this building.
Speaking on the facilities, we had just completed updating both women's locker rooms, so they're completed. As I stated previously, we have one section left in our dispatch center to do mold remediation, but due to some other technical circumstances, we had to put that on hold. Outside of that, the rest of the building has been completed, and we're looking forward to moving on to some other projects now.
Chief, relative to the space that's been put on hold, do you have a sense of when that can be?
Well, some of it's tied to some technology issues with our redundancy center, and others is related to staffing issues with our dispatch center. So we're not in a good situation right now as far as staffing levels to be able to move to the other dispatch center and try to be working between the two different dispatch centers. So when
So
we
on
resolve
hold
those two,
indefinitely.
indefinitely, correct.
Okay, and next steps on the public safety facility planning. Commissioner Coyle, do you want to start with the update on that front?
I think I'm going to defer to the chief because he's.
Yeah, so with that, like I had stated previously, we have chosen a design team We were actually supposed to meet with them in the last couple of weeks, but it was a day of a snowstorm, so it got canceled, so it's postponed. And tomorrow, we're going to just kind of just do a meet and greet with a new team and put together an agenda and a plan on moving forward.
So to be clear, we have selected the engineer firm or the
Yes,
design
we're
firm.
using LaValle Bensinger.
Yep. And
There's a contract in place that's being ironed out with legal and LaValle Bensinger, but we're doing an introduction tomorrow with their staff and city staff on the next steps moving forward.
great. Any questions on that? Okay. Moving forward, under community priorities, can we get an update on the CAD RMS software integration efforts? Anything new on contract negotiations and how soon that will start?
We had our first meeting. They basically have a plan that they follow. They had to get some things ironed out with us before they could move forward. And also Daisy has scheduled a meeting, I think, for next week for us to go over all the specifications and the technical IT hardware, software things that we need to make sure that we have in place so that everything runs smoothly.
Great. So again, to be clear, we've got the contract in place, work is underway.
We're working on the contract now.
Okay.
It's a step-by-step process. So we're in the first stage of that with Central Square, following their protocol.
Commissioner, sure?
I don't know if we've talked about this explicitly before, but I just note that going forward, I hope the department makes clear with them our desire to have it set up so it integrates well with a potential body cam system.
Yep. We had that in our specs.
Body and dash cam, I should say.
Yes.
Okay, any other updates or questions about the timeline, the rollout? All right, and related to body cams, I think it's timely to talk through the CIP requests and where we are specifically related to budget requests that were submitted to the CIP on behalf of the police department. Chief, you want to start with that?
Yeah, so the city council just approved the capital improvement plan for FY '24. Even though we're in
Flies.
23. And with that, the police department asked for continued funding to move forward with a new police facility, which was approved, and then we had another $400,000 to continue making improvements to our current facility to make repairs that are needed in the time frame until we can get into a new facility. And then the third section of that was money allocated for the purchase of body cam equipment.
And it's my understanding that the funding request for the body cam equipment was moved up a year.
It's moved up to FY '25, correct.
Any other updates, questions about the CIP process?
Just to point out in terms of the CIP relating to the body cams, just for transparency's sake, it really doesn't make sense to start to implement body cams until the CAD RMS system is fully integrated, which is going to take between 12 months and 18 months, fair to say?
Yes.
18 to 24.
That's not to say we won't be able to solicit bids from vendors and do a variety of things in preparation for implementation.
So there's a lot of work behind the body cameras and dealing with vendors and picking the right product that's going to be right for our community and for our officers. So we'll be doing that type of work in the interim while the installation of our new CAD RMS system has taken place.
Yeah, and it's also worth noting that this is also negotiated as part of union negotiations, which are underway for new contracts right now. And hopefully new contracts will be adopted within the next 6 months.
Hopefully, they
Hopefully.
expire
Hopefully 3
on
months.
June
Yes.
30th is
Yes.
expired, so hopefully we'll have a contract in place prior to expiration.
Yes.
So then when we're ready for them mechanically, we have all of the other elements solidified.
And in
Ready to go.
place, correct.
Great. Anything else on the budget work session we should discuss before Karen's report out on finance? Any other questions on budget review? Okay, with that, Chief, I'll turn the agenda over to you.
I think we covered pretty much everything they had on there.
One thing we didn't get to do last month was the monthly traffic stats, because we
Right.
didn't have the deputy chief.
The deputy will have that. I think that's all we have left.
And then their financial report.
Thanks, Chief. So for the month of, excuse me, February, we had a total of 484 motor vehicle stops. Out of those 484 motor vehicle stops, 8 resulted in arrest. 33 summonses were written, 137 written warnings were issued, 291 verbal warnings, and total motor vehicle crashes, reportable motor vehicle crashes were 33, which is an average of a little bit more than one a day, which is good considering the amount of vehicular traffic in the city every day. And we also had weather impact some of those numbers as well. Generally speaking, when we see winter months, we see a decrease in crashes due to weather. Overall, you'd think you might see an increase due to weather, but we do see a decrease in crashes because less people are driving during the bad weather and let the plows do their work. So a little bit statistically low on the month across the board, but I'd attribute that mostly to the weather.
Low is good.
Low is good.
Any follow-up questions on the monthly traffic stats? And I would just point out, I know we had a chance to hear last month on the community survey that UNH did, and as always, traffic enforcement is one of the community's concerns and gets highlighted once again in that survey. So I do think it'd be great to revisit the survey results since we've had a little more time to digest some of the data. But again, just reinforcing that one of the reasons we report out on monthly traffic is because people want to hear about traffic stats. And that's one of their big concerns. All right, financial report.
Okay, we're still tracking very well. We're actually creeping up to the 6% below the cap for this period. But I just wanted to report, I had a conversation with Judy Belanger, the city finance director, and she was concerned that our financial reports don't match exactly to what the city council gets. So she just wanted me to clarify the differences in our financial report is when I prepare yours, I have it right up to the minute. If I know that we have an overtime slip that we're going to get credit for, I put it in. And so they may not have the journal entries yet. So I just wanted to clarify that the reason that ours might be just a little off is because of that. And then I'm coming up on the fourth quarter. I'm going to be preparing the projection for the last quarter and what our surplus will be. And as we talked about the CIP projects and also the delay in the dispatch center, one of the things that we are going to have to use some of that surplus for is getting the redundant center ready to go. And then the other thing that we're going to put through, I had a meeting with training officer Aaron Stacy and Lieutenant Benson, and our tasers, which used to cost us about $800 a piece, are now, with all their technology and all their parts, are about $3,000 a piece. So to put those on a rolling stock replacement cycle for FY25, because we've already submitted the CIP for 24, we're going to have to be putting in a project for $60,000 a year, and it's just going to have to be a rolling thing. That'll allow us to replace about 20 tasers a year. They said, just like computers, the tasers become obsolete very quickly, unlike the original ones. So we're going to be adding that in FY25, but we're going to be using some of the surplus this year to start that process. We have some money set aside for that, but not enough to do that 20 taser purchase on that cycle, because between all of our sworn and auxiliary, we're going to need to be on a very tight schedule. We already talked about the CAT RMS, no updates on grants, and on the strategic plan, Chief and I are working on his message and a new picture to put in there, and then we can put that out.
Any questions, Commissioner Scher?
One question. Who is, and this may be for the chief or you,
I'm sorry?
Karen. What company provides our tasers at this point?
Axon.
Axon.
So Axon is the manufacturer of tasers. There's only one taser.
There's only one taser.
And they actually will integrate with the body camera, I was told.
Yeah, and hopefully there could be a deal to be had if
know
we were
about
to
that.
go with.
So Axon is trying to get into the market of just about everything now. So they actually even have their own CAT RMS system, but we didn't choose that. So the thing with Axon now, the tasers, is they're like cell phones. There's a
Yeah.
new edition coming out every 6 months. So we won't always have the top of the lineup, but we'll at least be relatively new into the last few years of from our oldest taser to our newest taser.
Yeah, it used to be like a 10-year cycle. Now it's much shorter than that.
3 to 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh.
Commissioner Coyle, any questions?
Just thank you for your attention to detail on the financial report.
A couple questions for me. One, any projections on, I know we approved a grant last month on the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, but it was my understanding there was additional requests needed, or there was an expectation that more funding might be needed. Is there anything new there?
I think it's working its way through Concord right now. I think it's made it past the committee and is now going to the full body for a vote.
Okay.
I think he put in 400 or 500,000. Yeah.
Okay. And then maybe we can just make a note of this, Jackie and Chief, if you're amenable to it. There's been a rise in sextortion, crimes against children, where children are coerced into sharing images and then are bribed as a way of trying to prevent the person who's doing the scamming from sharing those pictures publicly. And there's been more and more visibility around that. I wonder if we could hear from the task force relative to community outreach and education related to not just that topic, but other timely.
Yeah, we could have Lieutenant Kinsman come. I mean, we recently, I say him and the ICAC recently did a presentation at the middle school on sextortion, but he can definitely come in and speak more on that and what they have to offer.
Yeah, I think it would be great. And the more we can make sure parents are aware, I've just got another warning notice from the school today, so I know it's on people's minds and it's a concern. But at this point, Karen, we don't have any other additional funding requirement for the task force in our budget.
No. He did announce today, I think, that they're opening their revamped.
Yeah, they just built a new forensic computer lab at their office in Concord, Manchester. Sorry, that's going to be opening.
On
They're going to
Monday.
have a ribbon cutting ceremony next Monday.
Yep. Right.
And he did say that when we were talking statistics with our grant manager, that they're up 3 times what they were before COVID. Nothing's come down. Nothing.
Yeah.
They just keep going up.
And then anything specific to the budget process, just in terms of timing, timeline, things the community may want to be following at home relative to approvals and how that process is playing out?
We had our public hearing in February, and then we had our meeting with the city manager to go over what cuts she needed us to make because we have a shortfall and they're trying to get the budget down to a certain level. And with that, the deputy could probably tell you, but we are going to delay hire a social worker for just 3 months. We're going to delay hire the 10th dispatcher to the 4th quarter. And then we did multiple other line items. Our IT manager was able to give up about $20,000 because some costs came in significantly lower than we had projected. So we made up quite a bit of money, and our budget started out at 1.6, and I think now we're down to 0.5 over FY23. And a lot of help with that came with the reduction in the retirement rate, the employer's share of the retirement rate, and several people leaving and younger cops coming in.
Yeah.
So it all helped contribute to getting our number down.
Yeah, I appreciate that visibility because I think, I mean, a couple of key points relative to the nature of how far below our budget from last year we are at this point. And I think it's worth people understanding at home that that's a function of really being understaffed. Both in
Correct.
dispatch and having, not having been able to hire officers fast enough. So the idea that, that we would have to delay the hire of a social worker. I know we're all trying to make a accommodation for the fact that we can't have a budget that's way over and the tax rate goes up, but ultimately that's the kind of priority we need to be able to adhere to and make sure happens. So I think, the fact is we've been working really hard in the department over the last many years with not enough resources, and so I hate to see having to delay anything relative to the staffing model that we're trying to implement right now. Any other comments or questions on that front? No. Thank you very much for the report.
Yeah, you're welcome.
One under miscellaneous business that I just want to share in case anyone is following it at home, and give a shout out to the team here in Portsmouth, along with the Manchester PD. We were successfully able to put forward a piece of legislation that would make it legal for emergency response to treat canine injured in the line of duty. The bill has gone through the Senate Judiciary, and it's called Max's Bill in honor of Canine Max, who was killed following a training injury that he sustained. And basically, the bill will enable EMTs to provide life-saving treatment on site in the event of injury, and therefore then be able to transport the animal safely to veterinary care. So one of those things that you wouldn't think is necessary, but is necessary. You have to have a law on the books that allows for EMTs and first responders to treat canine injured in the line of duty. So we'll follow that all the way through, and big shout out to the folks here who brought that to our attention, and to Senator D'Alessandro who sponsored and got it in even after the deadline. So any other miscellaneous business or topics to cover tonight? Okay, with that, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye.